We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Hey everybody, how's everyone doing? So as you could tell, yesterday was on the show. It's been a little crazy here in LA the last 4 or so days. It's just been nonstop rain over and over and over again. It's been pretty active. Actually, let me see. I will play you a video to give you guys an idea of what it was like recently. And I'm going to share my screen for, if you're not a part of the Discord, we have a Discord, go check it out. And this is, if you're not already part of it, make sure to join, go to Linktree/I'm Gabe Sanchez. That's linktr.ee/I'm Gabe Sanchez or linktree.com/I'm Gabe Sanchez. Either one works. Then you can go in, you can join that way. So that way you can get in the conversation of things that are happening throughout the day. So the video I wanted to play you really quick was just to give you an idea of what exactly it's been like in LA. And I come from the Midwest, from Chicago. We get rain, snow, we get everything, all 4 seasons. Some people say there's 5 seasons in the year in Chicago. It's crazy. It's extreme. Here in LA, only recently, I'd say in the last couple of years, have we gotten this like winter rainstorm. El Nino probably doesn't really help either in terms of making this worse, but we certainly get a lot of rain in the beginning of the year now, and it causes a lot of issues. The LA River, you know, where you see scenes like Grease, right? The car chase scene, or in the movie Drive where they drive down. That's the LA River. I think there's another movie with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Seyfried, and it's about time. That's another one. They drive on the river, the LA like canal river area, because it's just completely dry. That is completely dry. But then during these moments in time, you get storms, which look like this. Hold on, let me share my screen. Now, keep in mind, this is normally a dry. This all over here, this down here, this is normally like dry. There's like nothing really there. If there actually is stuff down there, it's like sparse, very, very sparse. And then there's areas of it that just really get dry, where it's just like you could drive on there as I should. All right, so this is 2 days ago. Look at this. These trees over here, right? This is the 5 right here, and there's a bridge over there. This is in Atwater Village. But look at these trees. Look at this. Look at these trees over here. This is like 3 feet above. That's how much water we've been getting. And I don't know if people know how the LA River system works, but all of the, you know, from the mountains, they trail down, they trickle in. There's different water collecting sources that we have, but for everything else, it's this river, and it cuts all the way down and goes all the way down through Long Beach. That's why Long Beach gets so fucked up. It's because it's literally everything leads down there, and then it goes right into the ocean. This is like legit whitewater rafting. You could get a kayak and go down this kind of thing. I wouldn't recommend it because I don't know what type of water is being drained into here, but this is what it's like. This is what it has been like in LA. It's been nonstop, just torrential downpour. It finally let up today. There was sun outside. It was great. It was great. I think it's supposed to rain again tonight, like at 7 p.m. my time. And then maybe again this weekend. But this is pretty much becoming the new normal here in LA. Climate change, right? Anyway, if you're not a part, this is our Discord, by the way. I shared this video yesterday. But yeah, this is our Discord. Come on in. You You know, we got different channels, different things you want to research, breaking news, off topic. We got Pokemon down here. You know, it's as it says, gangster shit. So if you want to check us out, go over to the Discord. We'll put the link. I think we put it there in the chat before, but also they're just cool people in the chat, you know, in Discord, you know, all hanging out, doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But we have the live chat too. So if you're not in here chatting or you're over there chatting, whichever you prefer. I know that's Rosebud specifically. You had asked about why I stream at the same time that Midas Touch does. And that's simply because my schedule changed. So I can no longer stream in the morning. I had to get a job that changed my day schedule. And as a result, I'm no longer available during those days or during those times. So, but it's the same thing, right? Like Hal, I think Hal is live right now, right? So Midas Touches. If we lived in a world where, and the unfortunate reality is like we're all available at certain times and unavailable at certain times. Like people can watch a show now or they can't watch a show now. I can't really do anything about it. But it's the same way if I were to look at like TV programming, you know, Fox, the channel Fox is not going to get upset at NBC or ABC or CBS because they happen to have a show at the same time. People can watch whatever they want. And I'm not going to force anyone to make a decision. So it's really up to whatever. But this is, unfortunately, this is the time that I'm available. Yeah, it's like Brian M says, Hal is live. And the great thing is we've got people that are part of all these groups, right? There's a big Venn diagram of Midas Touch, me, Tony, Hal Sparks, and other people that are out there as well that are on the pro-democracy left side of the news, right? Reporting, commentating, whatever it might be. So that's just how it is, you know. It's unfortunate that we run at the same time, but I'm not eating into their audience. They have a huge audience, and different days are different shows, and that's just how it goes. So yeah, who knows? I mean, if I can make this a full-time thing and I can get enough funding or contributions to run this as like a full-time thing, then maybe. But unfortunately, right now, podcasting ain't paying the bills. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, for those of you who are here, I appreciate it. I do appreciate those who come over. And if you catch me on some days and not others, awesome. You know, I'm happy to have you. So let's talk about yesterday. Yesterday was, boy, quite a day. MAGA can't count, but we already knew that, right? We know that they have a problem with mathematics, or as I like to call it, MAGAnomics. And their MAGAnomics is that it really comes down to they do not know what 1 + 1 is. They think 1 + 1 = 2, or like 2 + 1 = 5. They have some absurd way in which they come out with these numbers. And it's unfortunate. But remember, these are the people that want to defund the Department of Education. If there was ever a sign to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't follow their lead, it would be the fact that these people who are elected officials in government, MAGA, Mike Johnson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, all these people, Matt Gaetz, they all went in thinking they had a certain count. It was going to go one way versus the other. And remember, it's not difficult. It's like basic arithmetic. This many people are Democrats, this many people are Republicans, and this is how the vote is going to be. They're going to be, maybe there might be 1 or 2 people that switch at the end, last minute, who knows? But this was an example of MAGA thinking they had it in the bag when they're trying to impeach Mayorkas. And it turns out they don't actually have the numbers. And again, remember, this is Republicans. These are the people who want to defund the Department of Education. These are the people who think they know what's best. Okay. So when it comes to accounting practices, money, finances, basic math, they don't know how to do it. And a good example of this is an example that really comes from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene last night, after they had this vote and they failed in both accounts, both for the Israel bill and also for they themselves when it comes to impeaching Mayorkas, This was the excuse in a 30-second soundbite from Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is the excuse that they gave. Because, of course, it's the Democrats' fault. The Democrats, you know what? It was like it was just like a secret play that we had in our back pocket. It literally wasn't. It's just the normal strategy that people have, which is just how they allocate votes, right? How people end up deciding to vote for one bill versus another, or a policy or proposal or whatever it might be. So this is last night, Marjorie Taylor Greene, in 30 seconds, gave her excuse.
The Democrats hid one of these votes that they had, so was it something that people would see? Is that something that Republicans?
I'm glad you asked that, because well, we can basically look at this as a game, unfortunately, and their strategy. And they hid one of their members.
How did we hide one of our members? How did we hide one of our members? Which I think is, I'm gonna have to dig into this one deeper. There is I'm working on an episode of what was that for this, but the idea that we just like hid, like this is not some like secret play like during a football game where you're like, oh, I had no idea that this was like the fucking sneak attack, or this was this was actually the quarterback and it was a trick play. Like, there's nothing to that degree. You know how many Democrats there are and how many Republicans there are. And we have to remember, Kevin McCarthy resigned. George Santos was expelled. Their numbers have gone down. There's another member I'm blanking on that wasn't there anymore as well. But they thought they had it. They're like, oh, well, we only have a slim majority by like 3 or 2 people now. I forget what it actually is. But the idea that they're saying that this is a game. I mean, Courtney brings up, this is not a fucking game. DMX, but Courtney's right. This is not a fucking game. The idea that they think that they can play us like we're some sort of pawns, which is funny because Republicans don't play chess. They barely play checkers. They don't even know how to play Connect Four, but they're coming at Democrats and saying it's their fault. They hid someone. You know what the roll call is. You know what the layout of your party versus the Democratic Party is. So this isn't really a blame game here.
Waiting to the last minute, watching to see our votes.
Also, waiting to the last minute to see how they went with their votes, that's literally how anyone else does it. If you go back to when Kevin McCarthy was just struggling for 15 rounds to become Speaker of the House back in January of 2023, what did they do? People literally waited till the last minute. They skipped their vote. That's why when you heard them for a roll, they were like, Gates didn't answer, right? He was waiting until later, or there were other people that were waiting until after so they could see how the count was to figure if they needed to vote for McCarthy or if they could vote for someone else to throw the end result off. This isn't new. This is fucking play. This is elementary. This is schoolyard shit. This is not some crazy new strategy of hiding some person's vote. They literally wait. Republicans do that all the time. They wait until the end to figure out how they should vote. They did it again when they were putting Kevin McCarthy up against Jim Jordan and others. And then ultimately we got MAGA Mike Johnson, who turns out that he's just as incompetent, if not even more incompetent than Kevin McCarthy. But again, this whole idea that she's like, oh, well, they hid someone and they waited till the very end. Are there rules in Congress that say you have to vote when your name is called? No, there's not. There's not. That's what it is. And you cannot blame someone because you don't know how. Remember, this is the woman, and I'll bring up the clip, but remember, this is the woman who is unable on multiple occasions to say a number. And when she did finally read it, she wrote it incorrect. She read it incorrectly. Now I'll play that in a moment.
Trying to throw us off on the numbers that we had versus the numbers they had. So yeah, that was a strategy at play tonight.
So do you essentially
the Democrats hid one of these votes that they had, so was it something that people would see? Is that something that Republicans?
I'm glad you asked that, because well, we can basically look at this as a game, unfortunately, and there's.
unfortunately, we can look at like this is a game. The idea that it's not a game. It is not a game. And if she wants to call it strategy, again, this is not new. This is not rocket science. This is not anything where someone has to go, oh, you know what? We've got a real secret strategy we're going to end up implementing in this thing. No one knows it. It's secret. Don't look at our plays. I mean, the 118th Congress right now is really making themselves, and even people from their own party like Chip Roy, which I'll play in a moment, they continue to attack their own party and call out their own party, which is amazing because Democrats, right, people on the left, whatever, don't have to do anything. They're literally creating the ads for Biden, for the Democratic Party. And the fact that people like Chip Roy are getting upset, or Marjorie Taylor Greene are getting upset, or Matt Gaetz is getting upset, or Lauren Boebert is getting upset, like, I don't give a shit. These people are idiots. But what they don't realize is that in trying to, in that moment, the immediate moment after something happens, like this vote, right, or right before this vote, they're trying to explain, like, oh, this border issue, or how these votes ended up being. They don't realize that in the moment that precedes or follows, they want to be the one, they want to be correct. They want to be, hey, look, it's not my problem. I voted this way. They voted the other way. They're the problem, not me, right? So this is the people within the GOP, within their own party, who are pointing to other people and blaming them. But as a result, what they're doing is they are really exposing, and again, Chip Roy did this, whether he knew he was doing it or not. Chip Roy did this amazing thing of explaining that the problem existed under Trump, and Trump didn't do anything. Trump actually lied by posting on Truth Social. Let's play a clip of that. This is Chip Roy. Here we go. Like I said, Chip Roy is literally creating ads for Biden and the Democratic Party. Okay. And what he says here is, I saw Trump make the allegation on one of his social media posts. All the president has to do is declare the borders closed, which is, again, what Republicans and MAGA and their followers continue to say. It's Joe Biden. He can unilaterally do this without any sort of power given to him. He can just do it. That's not actually the case. And again, Chip Roy here is calling out Trump by saying, well, with all due respect, that didn't happen in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020. There were still millions of people. And the one thing I do want to add to this too is, it's not just that the border has been an issue for decades and has been an issue under each of these presidents, and that there was a spike under Trump, right? But also, it comes down to the fact that there's one thing to consider here, and remember, is that Donald Trump's magnificent wall, his magnificent wall that he built, okay? The one that he used taxpayer money, the one that he said Mexico was going to pay for but never did, it's falling apart. It is falling apart, and now the Biden administration has to be the one that cleans it up, that repairs it, that fixes it. That is and then not only that, but Biden also got, I think, $1.5 billion dedicated, promised, or committed by Mexico to work on the border. It's amazing what happens when you, like, I don't know, reach across and say, hey, we love your help with this because we both think this is an issue, or this shouldn't be happening. And they say, yes, we should have this. We would love to work together. Biden sits down with the president of Mexico. They shake hands. They say, great, we've committed $1.5 billion, and we're going to go work on repairing and maintaining and adding to this fence. And the idea that Republicans also believe that you could just put a fence across the southern border, do not understand the geography of the southern border. Because remember, the southern border has mountainous ranges, right? There's hills and parts of areas that are very difficult to build on, and also unable to build on, because it's just, like, structurally, from an engineering standpoint, it's an area that is not only difficult to build on, but difficult to monitor. And it's also like what we could maintain with helicopters and what have you. This is not worth it. Building a wall into a mountain, or building a wall with a bunch of pylons into a mountain, doesn't fix the problem. There's something that is more systemically going on. And Republicans, as much as they whine and they complain and they say, this is the problem, it's the southern border, we got all these illegals, so it's an invasion, which it's not. It's not an invasion. This is just their bigotry and xenophobia and their racism all coming to the surface and using this as an excuse. And I'll play you a clip of something that happened in Times Square on Sean Hannity's show, live, broadcasted. This is the problem. But here's Chip Roy calling out his own
No, we're not.
Trump for really having the same problem and trying to lie about it.
Going to just pass the buck and say that, oh, any president could walk in and secure the border. I saw former President Trump make that allegation earlier today on one of his social media posts. All the president has to do is...
Also, do you like how he paused? There was a part of me, and we have to keep in mind that Chip Roy backed and endorsed Ron DeSantis. And in a question, I think it was with Caitlin Collins on CNN, Chip Roy was asked the question of, will you endorse Donald Trump? And he goes, oh, well, I'll endorse whatever the nominee is, right? And then he tried to insult Nikki Haley and say, oh, well, the reason that people don't want to vote for Nikki Haley is because Nikki Haley went on SNL. Now, I have my own problems with Nikki Haley going on SNL. It's because it's just, they're speaking to the wrong demographic, and I'll get into that in a moment, just because that triggered, somebody commented something on a post I made. And I just want to clarify for for people that are watching.
Declare the border is closed and it's closed. Well, with all due respect, that didn't happen in 2017, 18, 19, and 20. There were millions of people who came into the United States during those 4 years. No, we're not going to.
Millions of people. This is not just a Biden problem or a Trump problem or an Obama problem. This has been a problem for a while, okay? This is a problem. And the other thing that people need to understand is it's not because, oh, they're open borders. The borders are no more open than they were before. The only difference is that we're not putting children in cages, and we're separating parents and families and then telling, Department of Homeland Security and other places that were actively working to bring them back to their families, which is what Trump's administration did. And they didn't do, is what Stephen Miller, the architect of the put children in cages and separate families and that guy who is losing it over the Super Bowl and Taylor Swift right now. He is the architect, and you can read more about his stuff online outside of the fact that he's just a complete racist and he's a Nazi for many reasons. But Stephen Miller, who looks like the real life version of Nosferatu, right? The guy's crazy. But what Republicans, especially supporters, don't want to believe or acknowledge is the fact of what Chip Roy said. This is a problem that's been around for a while. This is not new. There is nothing novel about this. But what we have to see here is that it's existed as a Republican issue and a Democratic issue. It's a Republican administration and a Democratic administration. It does not find one party over the other. As much as Republicans want to say we're allowing a bunch of illegals to come across the border to vote illegally, no, we're not doing that. Again, this is more of the same 2020 conspiracy election denier shit. Unable to accept the fact that enough people don't like Donald Trump. Remember, 81 million people didn't vote for Joe Biden because they love Joe Biden, okay? 81 million people voted against Donald Trump. And that's the part, obviously, that hurts Donald Trump the most. He's unable to or unwilling to accept the fact that 81 million people went to the polls and said, you know what? Either I like Joe Biden, we need something new as an alternative, or I hate that fucking guy's guts, right? And those could have been Republicans, independents, Republicans, and definitely Democrats. These are people who went to the polls and said, between these two people, not someone I want to bring back in the White House or even give a 4-year extension to. And we all saw what was happening. Deregulation, COVID, deaths, unemployment, labor, all of these things that were basically crumbling before us with a lack of strategy and a lack of empathy coming from Donald Trump's administration. Remember, he said, I don't have any responsibility. I'm not responsible for any of the stuff that happens. It's the Wuhan virus. It's the China flu. It's the Kung flu, all that stuff, right? Remember, these are things that he said on national TV when he was having one of his 7 different conferences or news moments during the day. The man had no plan, no strategy. Whenever it was Dr. Birx or it was or Fauci, this is someone who would throw them under the bus. Remember, you have to remember you could just put sunlight on it. You could just inject bleach somewhere. This is a man who wants to be president again. This is a man who continues to brag about the fact that he is cognitively younger and sharper than he ever was 20 years ago, but also is the guy that confuses people like Nikki Haley with Nancy Pelosi, or vice versa. The guy who says, when I say Obama, I really mean Biden, but that's for the people who are trying to understand the secret code. No, it's because he's an idiot and he's slipping. And oh yeah, Jeanette brings up a good point. There's a clip, I'll see if I can find it in a second, is supply change. When they asked him what supply chain was, he was like, oh yeah, supply chain, that was a problem. It's supply chain, logistics, how a thing goes from point A to point B in the process in between, right? I went to business school, and that was one of the many things. My capstone courses were in supply chain and how you can facilitate and make process more efficient, how you Six Sigma, those are all different things that you could practice, to make a business more efficient, to use less money, to have less overhead, less cost. These are things that are way over Donald Trump's head. He doesn't understand those things. So when he talks about supply chain, whether he really meant it or whether he really thinks it's called supply change, TBD. This is the same guy who thought he invented the word caravan, which again comes from like the 15th or 16th century. This is the guy that continues to tell people that you need an ID to go buy a loaf of bread. This is the guy that goes out again that brags about taking a cognitive assessment exam. Montreal Cognitive Assessment, MOCA, that's what it is. It's literally there to help you detect if you have dementia, early signs of dementia. It's nothing new. It's not an IQ test. It's not there to assess intelligence. It's just there to say, oh, yes, okay, cognitively, we see some signs of improvement. This might be an alert or kind of an area of concern that we want to work with. We want to monitor. That's all that it is. And when you tell someone that you aced it, no, that's not a thing. You don't ace a cognitive exam. You pass it, right? You pass, fail, you do mediocre. Like, you don't ace it, right? Like, the idea that Donald Trump's like, oh yeah, you got a giraffe, lion, elephant, man, woman. Excuse me, okay, let me finish, okay. Let me finish, okay. Okay, I had the best score of all time. Donald Trump, loves to say that he's the one. He's the one that aced it. And this is the same guy who was just called out by Chip Roy here. The same guy who thinks that he would be a better president. This is, mind you, that Donald Trump, again, he had 4 years. This is a guy that has said many times again, if I come into office, I will drain the swamp in 6 months. Well, he had 4 years. Why didn't he drain it then? And of course, Republicans and MAGA, they'll be like, oh, well, he was just building up. He was learning the ways of the... No, Donald Trump knows exactly all the loopholes that are going on. He literally admitted it to it. He admitted in a debate with Hillary Clinton during the 2016 presidential campaign. He called her out and said, oh, the reason I know about these tax loopholes, the reason I don't pay enough taxes or I don't pay as much as I should is because I use the same loopholes that Hillary Clinton's donors use. The guy literally said it on TV, live, in front of everyone, admitted to the fact that he uses financial loopholes, tax loopholes, to not pay more than he should, when you and I are paying way more than he ever would. Which, again, not fair, but the fact that he called it out and said and admitted to what he was doing shows you right before he were to ever enter the White House, why would you ever put someone in that's cheating the system? And obviously it's not cheating the system because it's technically legal, but the fact that he went on stage and told a bunch of potential voters, as well as the people watching these debates, that he was intentionally using loopholes to save money and not pay taxes. This is the person that would make sense to drain the swamp? I don't think so. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And the logic isn't really there. The math ain't mathin', baby. Speaking of Hillary Clinton, I want to play a clip from Hillary Clinton. Actually, she was on Wagner tonight, and she's talking about what I'm sure we've all seen, which is this moment right here, right? Tucker Carlson, as I put it, we are here because we love Vladimir Putin, even though he says we are not here because we love Vladimir Putin. It's a really weird way to go about it, but this actually just came in my feed earlier, and I wanted to bring this up and share with you guys.
Is in Moscow.
Keep in mind that in 2016, if we go back to these debates, just like I was talking about Donald Trump admitting to the fact that he was using loopholes to cheat the system, he's not the guy that's going to come into office and drain the swamp. And again, there was one time where I actually agree with Ron DeSantis, which was he said in an interview on one of the early campaign stops in Iowa, Donald Trump had 4 years to drain the swamp. Why is he going to all of a sudden do it in 6 months? Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You can literally ask any MAGA supporter, Trump supporter, Republican, why is Donald Trump now going to drain the swamp when he could have done it when he was actually the president of the United States? They don't have an answer. They don't have an answer. It's all excuses. They're going to say, oh, he was just learning how the system worked. Well, that's a long time to learn how the system works and not do anything, especially when your family financially benefits. You have Ivanka and Jared Kushner, who gave $640 million. Jared Kushner, MBS, $2 billion. Saudis, $2 billion. This guy gets to manage their fund. I don't remember this guy being any sort of financial expert or like savant in the industry. It's all nepotism. Nepotism got themselves these jobs. That's why MAGA is so mad at the fact that Hunter Biden never took a job in the government, never worked for his dad, never did any of that. There was never a whiff of nepotism. And the fact that he did these things on his own time with his own money, they're upset because they know, because it's all projection, they know that Hillary Clinton was right. Donald Trump was going to come in and not do anything to fix the problem. He was going to make it worse. His family were going to make it worse. They were going to just siphon money off. You got to remember that Donald Trump had international bank accounts, still was vested in Trump Hotel and the Trump organization when they go internationally. And again, many presidents, if not all of them, have divested their ownership of whatever company they're in. They literally made Jimmy Carter get rid of his peanut plantation. He had a peanut farm, okay? And they were like, nope, no, this is a conflict of interest. You got to get rid of it. Peanuts. Like, you're going to tell me that Jimmy Carter all of a sudden has a stranglehold on the peanut industry? Oh my God, give me a break. And this man gave it up. He gave it up and became president and did not get the due or the acknowledgement that he was due. He put solar panels on the White House. Reagan came in, stripped them out. Like, again, these Republicans are so triggered by simple things. And one of them being, again, is that Hillary Clinton was on the money when she talked about Donald Trump. She knew what was going to happen. She called it out. She talked about Russia. She talked about collusion. She talked about money. She talked about the swamp. She talked about his incompetence. She talked about everything. She talked about the way in which he handles his business and how he was going to take that same approach and use it in the White House. And what did he do? He did the same thing. That's what he did. I mean, the fact that he took documents because he said it was his, and now he's trying to argue that he has presidential immunity, even though he was citizen Trump. Under that argument, anyone who was president formerly could do whatever they want and say, oh, no, you know what? I robbed that bank, but presidential immunity. Oh, yeah, I killed that person, but presidential immunity. No, that is not how it works. But that is what Donald Trump is arguing. He's trying to argue the fact that even though he was president once, former president, and I use that because I don't consider him to be a president. He was barely there barely just working, that I don't call him really a president, but he was a former president. So Donald Trump obviously wants to argue the fact that former presidents have presidential immunity. They do not. It's almost like it's in the fucking name, presidential. Like you have to be president. You have to be serving a term as president to have those things. But of course, they don't know that. So here's Hillary Clinton and now talking about Tucker Carlson, which I'll talk about in a moment.
Go right now interviewing Vladimir Putin.
Right.
The first American, I'll say, journalist to interview Putin since the war in Ukraine began. What does that tell you about Tucker Carlson and right-wing media and also Vladimir Putin?
Well, it shows me what I think we've all known. He's what's called a useful idiot. I mean, if you actually read translations of what's being said on Russian media, they make fun of him. I mean, he's like a puppy dog. He somehow has, after having been fired from so many outlets in the United States, I would not be surprised if he emerges with a contract with a Russian outlet, because he is a useful idiot. He says things that are not true. He parrots Vladimir Putin's pack of lies about Ukraine. So I don't see why Putin wouldn't give him an interview.
It's like it's spot on, right? Why wouldn't Putin give him an interview? With the idea that we already know how Tucker Carlson works, right? He talks about the great replacement theory, and he says he's not racist, or he's not bigoted. Tucker Carlson works as a Putin puppet, okay? I've said it many times. People in the chat have said it before. Tucker Carlson is not an American patriot. He is a traitor to this country. He's admitted before that whenever he's challenged or cornered, he lies. We know that Tucker Carlson was pushing the big lie on Fox, and ultimately is what cost him his job, through the Dominion lawsuit, which was nearly $800 million, $787.5 million to be exact. And Tucker Carlson losing his job on Fox News, or Murdoch firing him, or what have you, just goes to show you that actions do have consequences. And Tucker Carlson now has his little internet TV show, which is on Twitter. And his internet TV show is only popular, and I say that very loosely when I say popular, is only popular because of Elon Musk. Because if we go and I search for Elon Musk, and we go here, and he's going to have a post that promotes it. Remember, the 171.6 million followers, those are a lot of them are bots. A lot of bots. Let's see. I know he posted, and I also want to keep in mind that this guy, or I also want to just point out, I love how the fact that this guy had to pay $44 billion. He's no longer the richest man in the world, which is great, and did not get his $56 billion bonus, which is also great. But Elon Musk spends hours of his day going on Twitter promoting conspiracy theorists or crying about DEI. Imagine how triggered you have to be as a billionaire, and the CEO / owner of different companies, right? We've got Tesla, which also has Cybertruck, which has been a complete fail. It's been amazing to watch. You've got Tesla, SpaceX. You've got his AIX company, or XAI, I forgot which one it is. You've got Twitter, aka X, which I'll never call it X. What else? I feel like there's another. Oh, and you got Neuralink also. This guy running different companies. And you would think that if I was a board member or I was a shareholder, someone who had a bit of an investment in a company, I would say, hey, focus on what you were doing before. Cars, rocket ships, whatever. Just don't hand it off to. You have to remember that Elon Musk is not even the CEO anymore, and he's still acting like he's the CEO, right? The woman who's in there as CEO right now is more of a puppet than anything. She's just there as a figurehead. She doesn't do anything. She's there to try to clean up the mess that that Elon Musk has, but we have to remember that Elon Musk, again, is another one of these people who is not an American. He's not even a citizen, but he's not an American patriot, which is funny when you hear Elon Musk comment on the border and try to push conspiracy theories. This is coming from a guy who is not from the US. He's from South America. So when we have someone like him try to be like, oh, well, there's just all these illegals coming in, dude, you're one of them, bro. You're one of them. You came to this country. You are a foreigner that's trying to say how us Americans, and I don't want to make it isolationist type of argument, but this is something where it's like, hey, man, I don't know if you have all the say that you should have in this moment right now, because what you're saying is really, really dumb. Really dumb. Well, what did I say? Did I say South America? Sorry, South Africa. My bad. South Africa. Right. His dad was the owner of a gem mine down there. And then we've got, apartheid. So Elon Musk comes from a society in a time period where had money. He was one of the white people who were wealthy. So he grew up in that. So that's his mindset, right? So he has it in the back of his mind. Emerald mine. Exactly. I said gem. And even recently I saw an interview where he was like, oh, my dad, he lied about that. He's not actually he's not actually he's not actually rich. He didn't give me any money. Okay, bullshit. I don't want to believe it. Earlier, I quickly before I find, let me find this tweet. Oh, here we go. Hold on. Yesterday, he promoted the interview with Tucker Carlson. And the only reason that he's doing this is because he is solely dependent. They are solely dependent on each other. Tucker Carlson needs Elon Musk to promote his show, and Elon Musk needs Tucker Carlson to drive the division on Twitter. That's the only reason that their partnership works. He needs the views to keep people on there. See, here we go. Retweeted and pushed this video from Tucker Carlson on Twitter because Elon Musk told Tucker Carlson, come over to X, come over to Twitter, and you can have your own show. I mean, that's why Don Lemon has one too, which is interesting to see when you remember that Don Lemon was fired around the same time that Tucker Carlson was. But Elon Musk courted both of them, and now Tucker Carlson is in Russia interviewing Putin because he loves Putin. He's a Putin simp. And Elon Musk is a supporter, not of free speech, but of Putin. Okay. That's why. It's not because he loves free speech or he's a defender of free speech or whatever. It's because Elon Musk is also a puppet who is dependent on the puppet, being a puppet of Putin, spreading the propaganda from Tucker Carlson to tell you, oh, I'm just here because I want to talk to him, not because I love him. That's no. Tucker Carlson is doing the bidding of Putin by spreading the propaganda through an American outlet. And then, as Hillary Clinton said, ultimately getting made fun of because they mock him on there and they use his broadcast to spread their propaganda. He's just a tool. But I do want to, this actually just reminded me of something. Earlier, I said Stephen Miller, who was the architect of the, put the kids in cages and separate the families and all that stuff, the terrible, vile stuff that came out of the Trump administration. Here is Stephen Miller on Sean Spicer, the former press secretary of Donald Trump, the one who had to defend the big crowd of the inauguration that there was for Donald Trump, if people remember that part. But here is Stephen Miller.
The border
really,
to help him win re-election. Yep. To get, what if I find
really, I'm going to preface this just really ratcheting up here. He gets real intense. Like, might need to take a bit of a chill pill and just relax for a moment, Maybe take some fucking melatonin or some Ambien. I don't know, man. Like Zoloft, the guy needs to take something. He's off the rails right now.
find a judge and I find a prosecutor who says he opened the border to help him win re-election, to get more illegal aliens to vote. And he fought election integrity at the
where were illegals voting for the election? Also, the amount of people, and this is something that Republicans and MAGA are unable to prove whenever I ask them this question. And I'm not going to count this whole fucking 2,000 mule situation because that was disproven and debunked even by Bill Barr, the former attorney general for Donald Trump, who, by the way, was like, I'm getting out before Christmas because this place is a fucking shit show. And he did. And he luckily avoided all of that. And now he's doing his rebranding I'm Not Such a Terrible Person tour. But the idea that Joe Biden is letting all these illegals that come over the border then what happened the first time? Because this is oh my God. This argument right here that he's making is that tons of illegals came over the border and voted for Joe Biden. But, and please remind me, who was the president in 2020? Who was the president that was in charge during the 2020 election? I don't know. Could it be Donald Trump? It is. It is Donald Trump. So he wants to blame Joe Biden for a problem that actually happened under Donald Trump and saying that Joe Biden is now causing these illegals. So what's going on here? 81 million people had illegals voting as he wants illegals as he wants to say it. No, I don't think so. But again, this is the argument. They do not think past they cannot see the trees through the forest, right? They are so distracted by something that is right there that the details of the statement they're making are so asinine. And he's trying to say that Joe Biden let the border open and all these illegals came over and this and that, and they're voting for this and that, and he needs them for the 2024 election. When in reality, we have to acknowledge that that makes no sense, because if that were the case, then who came over during the 2020 election and who was in charge? It was his boss, his man, his buddy, Donald Trump.
DHS and DOJ is part of his conspiracy. So that's a RICO violation. It's a civil rights violation.
Bro, chill out. RICO violation, civil violation. This is coming from the guy, again, who was the architect of separating families, children, mothers, parents at the border. These children were traumatized for months, if not longer, at the border, unable. Some of these kids, and this is the part that really pisses me off, some of the kids that were later reconnected, and because they were kids that they couldn't match up with families, some of the kids that they matched up with the families, the mothers, some of these kids didn't recognize their parents, which is so fucked up. It's so crazy. These kids were gone so they were separated so long from their parents that when they were finally reunited, they did not recognize who their family was, which is insane to even think about, that this is the type of treatment that so-called Christians do. And who is the person that's behind it? This guy right here, who's talking about RICO violations, civil violations.
And it's sedition. That's several
Sedition.
100 years in prison for those violations. And I have a judge and a prosecutor who also say, you go to jail, Mayorkas goes to jail, everyone in your administration goes to jail. And
who's the judge? Who's the prosecutor? I love when MAGA says this, okay? I love when MAGA says this. Oh, we've got a prosecutor. Okay, it's like, there we go. It's like the people who said that if this case was brought up against by any other attorney general in any other state, that they would come after Joe Biden for the documents, right? There were some documents that were found at the University of Penn Center for Joe Biden, and they returned it. That was what it did, right? Same thing happened with Mike Pence. They found documents, handed them over. No problem. You guys want to work together? You could search whatever premise, whatever house, building, whatever I own. There were people that I spoke with, and Jesus Christ, there are people in Twitter Spaces that I spoke with, and I've seen comments online where they come across and they say, any other attorney general in any other state would come after Joe Biden for having documents. Okay, then go for it. If that's really something that you believe in, and you believe it's an open and shut case, then do it. Then do it. Then fucking go for it. Put your money where your mouth is. Time and time again, I hear Republicans say, We've got it. We know it's there. I mean, just to bring it full circle, let's talk about really quickly the vote that happened. I started the show with the vote and how Republicans don't know how to count. They thought they had the vote to impeach Mayorkas. I mean, literally the thing that Stephen Miller is talking about right now. He's upset by the fact that Mayorkas, he's got an open and shut case. He's got a judge and a prosecutor who say, you're guilty. Okay, that is irrelevant. That doesn't mean anything. People can have opinions. That's how the world works. But guess what? That judge and that prosecutor are not overseeing whatever case you think is happening in real time. And again, these Republicans really think they have it. They're like, oh, I solved it now. Like Mike Lindell. Oh, I got absolute proof. Undeniable 9-0 Supreme Court ruling. I got proof. These people are idiots. And I'm going to say this right now. I am sick and tired of people saying, well, Gabe, you got to work with Democrats. I'm not going to fucking placate to that. It's a waste of time. It is a waste of time to try to reach across the aisle and work with Republicans who have, over the last 3 years, denied the outcome of the election, said that the COVID-19 pandemic was a hoax and it was all made up, said that there's a caravan or an invasion of illegal immigrants coming across the border. These are people that I do not give time to in order to say, hey, let's work together. I hope that we can compromise on something. They're not worth it. They are not worth your energy or mine. Our best effort, energy, time is spent getting people to register to vote for the 2024 election, educating people on Joe Biden's policies, the Democrats' policies, the wins that they've had over the last few years, and also working with independents who are on the fence to say, I don't know which one. Well, here's what happened under Trump. And unemployment for the African-American community was high. Under Joe Biden, it's low. Inflation was rising. Inflation is low now. Gas prices were high. Gas prices are coming down. You've got to look at just the ability for Joe Biden to say, we're going to invest in America. We're going to pass this bill to give money back to infrastructure, to give money back to the manufacturing, to give money back to chips, like all of these things that Joe Biden accomplished, and many, many more, right? You got tax credits, you got capping insulin at $35. This is just, and yes, the question was, Anthony says, can I still cuss at them? Yeah, I don't care. I mean, do whatever you want. However you need to express your feelings, there is no winning them over. If they come over on their own because they realize that the trucker convoy and the invasion and the caravan and this and that are all lies, that's on them. If they come over willingly, that's on them. But I am not going to spend more of my time and effort to try to win someone over that I know does not live in a reality that is set in actual reality. I'm not going to spend and waste my time trying to convince someone to say, hey, let me tell you why you're wrong, or let me tell you the facts. Because if that were to happen, these people, their psychosis, their whole mental breakdown would become utterly destroyed, because ultimately they would have to accept the fact that everything that Donald Trump and the Republicans and MAGA told them during the time that they were running for office, in office, and after was all a lie. And these people know it. Stephen Miller knows it. Sean Spicer knows it. Marjorie Taylor Greene knows it. Donald Trump knows it. Lauren Boebert knows it. The only reason they want to continue pushing this lie is because they want to stay in power. They want to be a dictator. They want to stay in power forever. They want to remove the democracy that we hold near and dear to our heart in America. That is the problem with the GOP. That is what they're trying to do. Even with the guy who has 91 felony counts, was proven liable twice, one on just the case alone, and two on another defamation, nearly $90 million collectively. First one was $5 million when Donald Trump was proven liable for sexually assaulting and abusing E. Jean Carroll, which in the state of New York is considered rape. So yes, Donald Trump did rape E. Jean Carroll. Then the second one was because Donald Trump kept defaming E. Jean Carroll. So they came back to say, okay, well, what are we going to figure out here for a number value that we're going to say is enough to punish this guy to be quiet? And then the jury came back and they said $83.3 million. this guy is, and this party are idiots. And I say that because I'm fed up, right? Like the only way that I can handle this is to mock them and to make jokes because I'm not going to win them over. It's going to happen on their own. When they go broke and they've refinanced their house or they've sold their car or they've gone into debt or whatever it is to support Donald Trump, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the RNC is almost literally broke. And Donald Trump is cannibalizing that party's financial revenue stream. Every time Donald Trump gets indicted or he goes to court or whatever it is, what ends up happening is Donald Trump sends out an email and says, hey, donate to me. They're coming after me. They're coming after me. Ronna McDaniel, okay, barely getting by on donations because Donald Trump is siphoning all of the attention and all of the resources and all of the money that would potentially go to the RNC. Because remember, the RNC was willing to pay Donald Trump's legal bills up until the point at which he said, I'm running for president. And then at that point, they said, we can't legally pay your bills anymore. That is the issue that Donald Trump has gotten the RNC into, but also the RNC is unable to compete with Donald Trump because he gets all the airtime. No one's going to donate to the RNC after they donate to Donald Trump because they believe they're either one and the same, or they believe that Donald Trump needs the money more than the RNC does. That's why you're going to find that people who run in 2024 for these offices are not going to have the national financial backing that they normally would because the RNC doesn't have much money. They spent how much? I'm trying to remember the exact value, but they don't have money and they're losing it hand over fist. And that's why McDaniel ends up removing herself and she's saying, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave. And I think it's going to be after the South Carolina primary that she's ultimately going to resign from her position. But again, the reason the RNC is in the situation they are is because they backed Donald Trump. They supported the man who continued to cry like a baby, whine that it was stolen. And as a result, they've hitched their wagon onto Donald Trump. And now they are walking themselves right into the fucking river. It's like they're on the Oregon Trail and they're like, we'll make it. The horse and buggy and the carriage, we'll make it across. And they lose all of their supplies. Everything goes downstream. The horse dies. The supplies get ruined. You barely have anyone that makes it across stream. Like this is one of those moments where the Republican Party, when Donald Trump said he was going to drain the swamp, I mean, in a way you could say that he's draining the swamp, but that's because he's bankrupting the swamp, right? Like he's draining it unintentionally. He's exposing these people for who they are. Not that we didn't already know who they are, where some people from the party are like, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of this. I don't want to be with Donald Trump anymore. And again, these people have typically discovered it on their own. But I'm not going to waste my time, and neither should you when it comes to Republicans who are trying to say, oh, Donald Trump won the 2020 election, or this was rigged, or this was a hoax, or this was fake, or these illegals, this caravan, whatever it is. These people aren't worth it. They're going to find out on their own, and they're either going to find out the hard way, or they're going to come to this epiphany moment before it's too late. But I'm not going to waste my time and drain my energy and resources to try to convince them. It's just not worth it, really. So when you see people like Stephen Miller is another example of how crazy and delusional these people are.
And your immunity is a worthless piece. What if I find a judge and I find a prosecutor?
So now, okay, in the beginning, that's actually a part that we missed here. He goes, what if I find a judge? So let's play the two parts back to back.
What if I find a judge and I find a prosecutor who says he opened the border to help him win re-election?
Yep.
Okay, so you find a judge and a prosecutor who says that Joe Biden opened up the border for the re-election. Do you have proof? Do you have a judge? Do you have evidence? No, you don't. You don't. That's why it's a hypothetical. If I find a judge, if I find a prosecutor to prove, well, you got to pick one. A judge is not going to prove something for your case. You need a prosecutor and you need evidence and you need to build a case around it. And then a judge is going to hear the case and say yes or no. But no one's going to hear that case because you don't have anything. You don't have anything. Then you have this over here.
That's a RICO violation. It's a civil. And DOJ, as part of his conspiracy on election integrity at DHS, and DOJ,
This is
as
so
part of his
insane. How
conspiracy.
intense this gets.
So that's a RICO violation. It's a civil rights violation, and it's sedition. That's several hundred years in prison for those violations. And I have a judge and a prosecutor who also say.
Okay, so he says remember in the beginning he says if I have a judge and if I have a prosecutor. Then he says I have a judge and I have a prosecutor. So which is it? You either have it or you don't have it. And again, if he had it, he would bring it to, it's like, oh my God. And people believe this. People actually believe this stuff. And again, that's why it's just not worth it. It is not worth it to try to work with these people because you're going to waste, you're going to get frustrated. You would be much, much better off going off and canvassing, going off and educating people, going off and getting people to register to vote. That is what you should do. And ultimately, what Republicans are afraid of. For the same reason that Stephen Miller is upset at Taylor Swift. He's afraid of what happened, right? One day she got 35,000 people to actually register to vote from one single Instagram post, which is insane. The turnout. No one's ever been that effective at getting people to register to vote. And that is why they are afraid. These people think it's in the bag. They got the votes to impeach. No, you don't. They got the votes for re-election. No, you don't. You've got a surefire slam dunk impenetrable case to prove that Joe Biden allowed illegal immigrants to cross the border and vote for him in the re-election. No, you don't. Oh, it's a slam dunk impenetrable surefire case that Joe Biden is actually behind Merrick Garland and Jack Smith. No, he's not. And no, you don't. You don't have any of this stuff. Republicans love to talk in hypotheticals. They love to say like if this happened, if I had that, if this were this, whatever it might be. That's how they talk. They always speak in hypotheticals, but hypotheticals ain't shit unless you actually got something to prove. If you don't have the evidence, you don't have photos, you don't have videos, you don't have documents, you don't have emails, you don't have text messages, you don't have any receipts, then it doesn't exist. And it's not a real thing. Republicans live in delusions of grandeur, right? They don't actually live in a reality that we live in, which is accepting the fact that Joe Biden is our president. He won a legitimate, fair election in 2020. He will win again in 2024. And now Republicans are trying to find any way possible that they can make sure that Joe Biden doesn't have that possibility, whether it's suppress votes in one place or, push migrants to another city because that's, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense. None of these people make sense. And they do not think long term. They never think things through. And Elon Musk over here, to bring it back, is live by the sword, die by the sword. Like, what? Huh? This is a guy, again, who owns this company. He paid $44 billion for this app right here. And he spends hours on it, pushing. Oh my gosh. He spends hours of his day when he should be running companies, and I'm sure his board is totally happy that he's doing this. He should, or does rather, he spends hours of his day arguing with people online, promoting conspiracy theorists, and whining about DEI. And I don't know if anyone's, and we can hit this up another time, but I don't know if anyone's been watching him and Mark Cuban go back and forth on Twitter. It's chef's kiss. It's amazing. It's amazing because Mark Cuban doesn't take him seriously, and he debunks and disproves everyone's accusations and claims about DEI. And then when he goes against Elon Musk, he fucking crushes him every single time with facts, with truth. So these Republicans are quite lost. And I'll end it with this. For people who are excited about the Super Bowl, Awesome. If you watch it, you don't watch it, whatever. But this right here is why MAGA, Republicans, Donald Trump, and Stephen Miller, and all these people are scared. This is Taylor Swift. I mean, look at this. Okay, the back obviously is covered because who's going to watch a show from the back? Look at this. Can you, I mean, like, bird's eye view or kind of whatever, but look at this stadium. This is insane. This is insane. I don't see many empty spots. Look at this. My God, the stage. We got people down here in the GA down there. We got people up here. We got people over there. We got people. This is crazy. Like, tell me another person besides like Beyonce that would be able to generate this many fans. I mean, look at this. You got a dad over here, probably with his daughter. You got a dude over here with his girlfriend. Maybe that's the mom over there. Like, you got girls, young girls. And that's the part that actually scares him a lot. It's the fact that her demographic are women, young girls, but specifically young girls that are between the ages of like 10, 11, 12, whatever, and 17, 18, 19. Like, we're talking people in their prime where it's like you have a whole new generation of kids coming up, right? You got Gen Z, there's, Gen Alpha, I think, is much, much younger. We got Gen Z now, and these are people that are activated, ready to go, listening, and know the problems that are there. Because remember, the reason that Taylor Swift spoke up against Marsha Blackburn in 2018 was the fact that she said Marsha Blackburn doesn't speak for women. She doesn't protect women. She doesn't do anything she can to make sure that women are safe from stalkers, from assault, whatever it is. She's like, I'm not going to support that. I'm going to speak out against that. So this whole theory and conspiracy that Republicans are like, oh, Taylor Swift is going to endorse Joe Biden. It's all part of this deep state. No, it's not. You just literally have to look at the politics. She said she wants to make sure that women and girls are safe and protected and have an opportunity in this country. And then Republicans literally do everything to strip those things away. Roe v. Wade. They want to make sure that pay isn't equal. They want to make sure that you don't have certain rights. You got Matt Walsh saying that women shouldn't have the ability to vote. So if you're going to tell me right now, again, if you're going to tell me that big, strong, tough Republicans, alpha males, are so weak and sensitive that they can't handle Taylor Swift. But specifically, they just can't handle the Swifties. They can't handle the Swift army. You're going to tell me that they're big and strong and tough and, oh, they never cry, never show emotion. But as soon as a 34-year-old global pop star says, hey, you guys should register to vote, they crumble. They get wrecked. Exactly. Boom. Storm Virgil. V over here says, get wrecked, Trumpers. And that is 100% true. This is what they're afraid of. That's why they were so triggered by the fact that Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift. They're trying to come up with some crazy theory that it's a deep state psyop. It's Joe Biden trying to help his election. She's going to nominate him again. She's going to do it probably in the fall. But remember, she already nominated him. She already endorsed him back in 2020. So the fact that she's going to endorse him in 2024 is not surprising. It's not some conspiracy. It's not crazy. It's literally just logic, which is what Republicans lack, because they think anything that's against their party or their plan or Donald Trump is some conspiracy of some sort. It's not just karma. It's not just life. It's unfair treatment of a former president who should have totally stolen those documents and should have totally spread those secrets to other people. So yeah, Trumpers can get wrecked. I don't really care. It really comes down to the fact that they're just afraid of the fact of a woman, a strong, independent, successful. I mean, just side note, what is Taylor Swift's net worth right now? Is it over $1 billion? $1.1 billion. 1.1. They are so afraid of a woman, a self-made billionaire woman. That is what they're afraid of. They're afraid of a woman who she can gather crowds of people that Donald Trump could only wish of, dream of. He'll never get a stadium that full. Never. He will never get a stadium that full. And they know, whether they want to admit it consciously or not, that Donald Trump is a fraud and he's stolen money from them and he's grifted from them. But they are so committed to this delusion, this reality that's not actually there, because that's all they can. Because remember, like I said before, if they don't admit to it, they don't accept the reality, then they're crushed. I mean, ultimately, what do you have left? If you accept that the last 7 to 8 years have been a lie, what do you have left? If your whole personality is built around Trump and MAGA and America first and this and that, like, what do you have? You have nothing left. It's all a facade, right? It's very much like the Gilded Age. It's not real gold. It's all just fake. So just know that when Taylor Swift, whenever she does, but probably in the fall, she's not going to do the Super Bowl. That's what Republicans think. But whenever she does ultimately endorse Joe Biden, it's because she really does believe in Joe Biden's policies and everything that he's done and all of the success that he's had in the last few years. That is why. Because the GOP has such regressive and destructive policies against women. That's the truth. That's really what it boils down to. And they're afraid. And they can't handle it. And they just can't handle the truth, you know? That's the reality of it. Anyway, it is 6:12 or 8 or 9:12 on the East Coast. I want to thank everyone who came to the show, who hung out with me. I greatly appreciate you coming here. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. That way you know when new episodes happen, when new live shows happen. There's another one happening tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to, if you're not on Twitch, make sure to come over on Twitch. Follow me there. Check it out there. That's where I'll be. You can always see me there. Come over to Discord, have a conversation with us in there. When they're not having the show, we talk about all sorts of stuff. You get early access. You get insight into what's going on in the world. People share different things going on in the politics and non-politics, culture, society, whatever it might be. I want to thank the wonderful sponsors the wonderful moderators that we have. I would love sponsors, by the way, but I want to thank the wonderful moderators who are working so hard in the background, because without them, the show would not happen. But I will say this, sponsors, if anyone knows sponsors out there, I would love to have sponsors on the show, whether live or in the scripted format here. The show is run entirely by me. It is a one-person show. If you want to contribute in any way possible, I got a Ko-Fi. That's ko-fi.com/I'm Gabe Sanchez. I also have a Patreon that you can go to, patreon.com/I'm Gabe Sanchez. It's you can get merch over there. You can also, again, I don't have a, you can like and subscribe, but also join in that same, I think, area underneath the title. You can join if you want to become a member there as well. I'm possibly looking at moving away from Patreon and doing like a private thing on my own website. We'll see about that. I don't know what's going on. But if you have ideas, let me know in the comments. If you have any sponsors that you think would be good that we could align with, I could partner with, let me know. Would love to hear more about that. But with that being said, thank you for hanging out with me. It is Wednesday, February 7th. I will be back on tomorrow, Thursday, February 8th. Same time, same place. You know where to find me here. And make sure to like, subscribe, make sure to follow, all those good things. I will see you guys tomorrow.